It always rains during November 1 in the Philippines where I am, and November 1 is Todos los Santos, or in English, the Day of All Saints, and November 2 is the Day of All Souls, which is Todos los Almas. The government usually declares as a holiday October 31 and November 1 because people go back from Manila to their provinces to visit the graveyards and cemeteries where their loved ones are buried. Strangely enough, it is one of my favorite holidays, so I decided to vlog it. And I love rainy days as well, so I'm gonna let you listen to the rain for a while. My mother is the one who prepares all of the floral arrangements for the gravestones every year, and this is what she has prepared this year. This is where my grandmother and my grandfather and my younger brother are buried. But let me just clarify, November 1 is the Day of All Saints and November 2 is the Day of All Souls. And the government traditionally declares October 31 and November 1 as holidays, but sometimes it doesn't declare November 2 as a holiday anymore. And if that's the case, people go to the cemeteries on November 1 instead of November 2. So we left that cemetery because we would be returning to it later on anyway. And we drove to Tigaon. It is a town that is a 45-minute drive away from Naga. And along the road, we see these. These are stalls that have candles and floral arrangements and some food and snacks that usually crop up near cemeteries every Todos los Santos. Now, this is the town of Tigaon. This is what we call the centro, or the center of the town, where all of the businesses are. This is where the market is, where the stores and restaurants and some doctors' clinics are here. Transport terminals are also here. And this is actually the town where I grew up. It's very, very small and it's relatively peaceful. Last time I was living here, I was, I think, around 11 years old. But my dad and my mom still come back here, and my dad still has that little house that I grew up in, and he stays there with my mom every once in a while. And this is the old church that has always been here ever since the town was founded. It's called the St. Clare of Assisi Parish. That is the church where I held my first Holy Communion, and the gray building at the back of it is where the parish priest lives. This is the entrance, the only entrance, I think, to this cemetery, and that's where we are gonna come in. It's a Catholic cemetery, or a Roman Catholic cemetery, and it's very, very rainy. There are mud puddles all over. And the family mausoleum is not really very far from the main entrance. We really just have to practically walk around this big mausoleum at the front, and that's where it's gonna be. I'm gonna show you later. So for now, not much people are in here because it's in the morning, but there are going to be more people later on at night. Again, I had to step over some puddles, but that's okay. I was wearing my hunter boots. And this is the mausoleum. This has been here for a very, very long time, and there are a bunch of people that are buried in there. The mausoleum is being kept and maintained by one of my uncles. He is my father's first cousin, so his children are my second cousins, and his name is Uncle Tommy Mull, and he has the keys to the mausoleum and he's in charge of maintenance. But my mother makes the floral arrangements every year. And those are photographs of our relatives and ancestors who have been buried there. Um, those are not all that are buried there. Some don't have photos. We do have to put their photos on there sometime soon. And the architecture of the mausoleum is very, very mid-century. It's very characteristic of the 1940s and 1950s, and I'm going to show you later. Here is Miguel Estela Moll. He died in 20 10. And then over here is my great grandfather. His name is Sebastian Mall. That is his picture right there. And this is like a brass sculpture of his face, and there's his name right there, D. Sebastian Mall y Prieto. The D stands for Don, and the inscription is in Spanish because for about 3 centuries the Philippines was a colony of Spain, so everybody spoke Spanish. And on the other side of him is his wife, my great grandmother, Doña Leonor Robles Viuda de Mol. My great grandfather died before my great grandmother did. And over here is Monique. She's my second cousin. She's one of the daughters of Uncle Tommy, who maintains and keeps the mausoleum. She died in 2004. She's just a year older than me. I grew up with her. I miss her a lot. We have so many happy memories together. And now I want to show you the outside of the mausoleum. It's surrounded by this low perimeter wall, and as you can see, the design is carried on to here. Those are squares that decorate the low perimeter wall, and where the plant boxes are, it's a recurring theme, and in every corner of the low perimeter wall you will be able to see a big, sort of like a plant box. And even the grills on the window, um, they they have a pattern of squares on them. And at the top of this mausoleum are more provisions for skeletons of other people who will be dying in the future. I'm assuming that's us. If that is where we want to be buried, there is a place for us right here in this mausoleum. We stayed for about an hour and then we had to break for lunch. But here is something that I saw on the outside of the cemetery. It's written in the Bicol language. This is not Filipino. It's really just a notice to the public saying that the bringing in of chairs and tents and food are allowed only until 12 noon in order to make way for the droves of people that will be coming in after that time. And as you can see, the sky is still dark, so even if it has stopped raining at that moment, I knew that it was going to be raining hard later on in the day. I also saw this. This belongs to the Natividad family who have been living in the town of Digaon for more than a century, I think. And this is very, very old. Some of the people who are buried there have notations on their graves that say that they died in like 1919 or 1940 or something like that. I've always found old graves very, very fascinating. And as expected, here are the stalls that have been put up by the entrance of the cemetery. Those are flowers, some are real and some are fake. And some snacks are also available, some drinks, but nothing more, I guess. And here we are now in the house where I grew up, still in the town of Tigaon. This house is about like 4 minutes away from the cemetery because Tigaon is a very, very small town, like I said. Now, this has been renovated already. This didn't used to look like this when we were still living here when I was a little girl. And this house is still being worked on, and my dad doesn't stay here 100% of the time. He stays here about, I don't know, I don't really know. There's no schedule. He comes right here when he needs to. And it really is just a very, very small house. Let me show you. Let me go around the house. There I am with my hunter boots because it's raining and muddy, but at the moment that I'm walking around, it's not raining. And this is the front of the house, and that would be the side of the house. And if we go beyond the old bodega that's still being constructed, by the way, we can see that row over there. That used to be a row of pigsties. And that water pump, that manual water pump, has always been there ever since I was a little girl. And I'm so amused that it's still there. And over here are my father's fighting cocks. I don't know how many he has. These used to be in our house in Naga, but when he decided to start living here, this is where he brought everything. And you guys, look, I didn't know that there were pigs in here. There are still pigs. I think these are pretty much the same old pigsties that we used to have when we were little. There are two, and they are very clean. The thing with pigsties is that you have to clean them like twice a day, or else they will turn really, really stinky. And do you remember my Hobonichi unboxing video in which I said that this cover on cover reminded me of afternoons when I was a little girl and I would sit down on the grass and look at the sky and flocks of birds would come flying by? This is the house that I was talking about. And this cover on cover for the Hobonichi really just reminded me of that. And that's really the reason why I bought it. Now, we are currently at the second floor of the old bodega, and I just wanted to show you that the roof is made of anahaw leaves. That's the diamond-shaped pattern that you see there. And there is a hammock. We call it duyan, and people can sit in here or lie down in here and take a nap or something after lunch. And there's also a dog here. He was given to my dad by the old owner because the original owner cannot take care of him anymore. And he's really a big, big puppy dog. His name is Viber, and we are seeing each other for the very first time. And he was biting my arm. I don't know why. I think he wanted to play. And at some point, he wrapped his chain around my legs, and it's a good thing that he's chained for the day so that he doesn't run out into the rain and get all muddy and, you know, catch a cold or something like that. But he's really, really so cute. At around 3 o'clock, we started driving back to Naga City, which, like I said, is a 45-minute drive away because we had to go back to that cemetery that we visited that morning. Here's a scene that we passed by. This is along the highway. This would be the Naga City Public Cemetery, and people are starting to come in. And as you may have noticed, it didn't rain in Naga. I don't know why. That's really, really why I don't track the weather in my planner, because it rains in one place and it's bone dry in another place. So it really doesn't make any sense at all to track the weather. But these are the scenes that we passed by on the way to the cemetery where my grandmother and my grandfather and my little brother are buried. Again, there are a lot of stalls that have candles on there for sale, and flowers and floral arrangements, and some food. And here's another cemetery that we passed by. This is a very big cemetery that is across the road from the cemetery that we are going to. The cemetery that we're going to is a new one. It's a smaller one that's currently still being developed. But this cemetery that we're seeing right here has been around for so long, and it's a very big cemetery. And these are the people that are already there at the time. There's going to be more as the evening progresses, but for now they are prepared with tents and the like. And as we approached the cemetery that we were going to, as we approached the main entrance to it, we see more of these stalls that have candles and floral arrangements and food. Let me show you the mausoleums that are inside the cemetery. These now have a modern design, not anymore like the old family mausoleum that we visited earlier. And as you can see, they are made of clean lines. There's a lot of glass, and there's a lot of good lighting. And some of these mausoleums actually have comfort rooms inside of them so that the family that owns them and are visiting can actually have their own private comfort rooms, because the public comfort rooms that are for use by everyone else can get crowded sometimes. And finally, here we are again where my grandmother is buried, and those are the floral arrangements that are already set up. And beside her is her husband, my grandfather, and below him is my brother who died when he was just an infant. I walked around for a while and I took a video to show you what people are doing in the cemetery. They really just sit around. They have tents, as protection for when it rains, or even when it's not rainy. They often have tents to protect them from the evening ambon, as we call it. And then they have picnics and really just have some quiet time with their families. We stayed there until the evening, and that's where we all had dinner. And then after dinner, before everyone started going home, we stood up to have a short prayer for the three people that are buried there. And this is pretty much how I spent November 1, or Todos Los Santos. Thanks for watching. Bye!